2. Hello, everyone. Happy Fierce Female Friday. Can you believe it? It's Friday again. And it is our favorite way to end the week in each other's company, shining a light on amazing leaders in the real estate industry. And boy, do we have an amazing guest this week. But of course, before we get to that, there's a couple things we love to do first. And that is share where you're watching from today. Let us know where you are. Drop a link to your business page or your Instagram account. How can we support you? How can we get connected with you? How can you get connected with each other? We'd love to see that for sure. As far as WomanUP updates go, we don't have anything new from than we did last week, but we have very important announcements. And the first is on the 17th, next Friday. That is our final show of the year. So final 2021 show. We are doing a big circle up session. So we all had so much fun doing those at the virtual Courageous Reinvention workshops that we're like, let's do that at the end of the year. So we can all get together, share our biggest wins, our favorite moments, those lessons that we want to carry into 2022. So that we leave this year feeling inspired and ready to take it on. So that again is on the 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then the next is swag. Have you gotten your swag? Have you gotten your WomanUP swag? There are so many easy under $20 items in there. And there's the Kohl's swag coupon holiday 2021. So hop on over to IamWomanUp.com. Click on the swag shop, click on the store, and fill everyone's stockings with amazing things like the mugs, the pencil bags. Come on now, you can use this for makeup.
Laptop case.
Oh, laptop case. I love it. I love all the sharing. So good. So hop on over and do some shopping. Be Santa's little helper. Well, actually, you're Santa. Let's just be real. We're all adults here. How about you, Sara? Santa Sara, next to you.
Oh, yes. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Sara Sudachan, Senior Vice President of Member Information at the California Association of Realtors. Even though WomanUP is the favorite part of my job, I also have a large role in filling Leslie's shoes, running our pretty much our member engagement department, which includes our research and economics team, our industry relations team, and lots of other things. But we just wrapped up a 2-day meeting with our strategic planning, and that's another thing I do with the association. And I want to give a huge shout out to Heather Osier, our brand new incoming treasurer, who Shannon knows very well. Led such a wonderful, engaging, and thought-provoking 2-day strategic planning committee meeting. So we had a busy week this week, and we also are on the heels of our last industry leader town halls, and that is our broker engagement session. We have it every 2 weeks, and we are going to continue those sessions into 2022. So if you are a broker owner, manager, executive, team member on a brokerage, you are included in this group. And send me an email, sarah.car.org, and we'll get you on. It's been a wonderful group. We have had so much engagement, so much growth over the last 20 months. We started our first town hall on March 20th, 2020. And no one thought we could do that. And Leslie can attest to this. We would go in person, and it was so much time, and people had to trek the freeways in California. And it was just such a whole day event, where now we get in, we get out in an hour and a half on Zoom. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Zoom and to all of our amazing brokers that show up every week to help each other, network with each other, ask really key and important questions. Today we had the commissioner on, and it was really great, engaging opportunity for our broker members. So the last thing I will share is thank you also to FHFA, who increased their loan limits, and our official 2022 loan limits for that are effective January 1. In high cost areas, many counties in California are in that realm, Hawaii as well. The cap is $970,800. So that means that that means more access to mortgage finance, which we so very much need in our very hot markets, white hot and red hot markets. So that was a big, huge kudos to our government, to our national government, and Fannie and Freddie loans. So I will pop the link for that information in the chats, both of them. And that's it for me.
Well, and now we have what's on Leslie's mind. I mean, let's just first speak to the fact that Leslie is in a color today and she looks like fire. I mean, come on. We were kind of teasing her a little bit in the green room about how she like beautifully coordinates with her space. Look at this. You are glowing. You are glowing. What's on your mind, Leslie?
Hi, everybody. It's great. It's great to be here. It's been quite a ride this year. I'm not going to be able to be on next week. So I just want to thank all of you that have taken the time to join us this year. And it's been a kind of interesting for me as I try to figure out what retirement, what semi-retirement, what consulting, what do I want, trying to figure my life out kind of one day at a time. And this has really been a highlight. So one of the things that I just wanted to pass on is the wonderful conversation that we had last Friday with the Sarita duo was filled with so many just wisdom and suggestions. And one of the books that came out that it seemed like everyone had already read except me was called Brave, Not Perfect. And I bought the book and I am about halfway through it. And it has really been a wonderful experience. And, I've talked a lot about how I was really good at coloring in the lines and got to graduate school where you are asked to blow the profession up and expand the horizons, and feeling completely unable to do that. And reading a book like this, it makes me feel like it wasn't all my fault, that was programmed in pretty early to not break any barriers. So, awareness is the first step, and it's really been wonderful. So I want to just thank Sarita and everyone else for encouraging me to read that book, and I recommend it to anyone that might be interested in.
Yay. Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that you're reading that. It is a really good one. We were teasing that maybe in 2022, Leslie will be talking more about her books on her Coffee and Conversation. So we're really looking forward to that. And then, of course, having a recap post at the end of the year of all the amazing books that we can all be reading. So really looking forward to that too, Leslie. All right, now on to our conversation of the hour with our special guest. Shannon King is here. Now, many of you in California likely recognize Shannon, but for all of our national and international attendees and members, you probably like, okay, I want to hear about this woman who is in such a place of power. So let me read her amazing bio. Shannon King, who's also ePro, GRI, MRP, is a realtor from Kailua, Hawaii, and she is our 2022 NAR President of Association Affairs. She's been a realtor since 2000. Shannon practices residential real estate and is a broker owner of Island Living Homes. So fellow female broker owner. Island Living Homes is a boutique firm in Kailua on the island of Oahu, Hawaii. At NAR, Shannon is serving as the Vice President of the 2022 Executive Committee. She most recently served as the chair on the Consumer Advocacy Outreach Advisory Board. She has also chaired the Member Communications Committee, the Meeting and Conference Committee, and the Strategic Planning Committee. She served as committee liaison for NAR's Board of Directors and for the Communications, Meeting and Conference, Professional Development, and Research Committees. Shannon was an original member of the Young Professional Network Group, and as their second chair, helped YPN become a recognized committee. Snaps all around for that. Shannon has served on strategic planning committees for the Texas Association of Realtors, the California Association of Realtors, and the Hawaii Association of Realtors. She also served on the board of directors for CAR and HAR. Shannon co-founded Schoolhouse Realty in California, which donates a portion of its proceeds to California schools. She also owned Tribella Realty in Texas. Shannon was named a Realtor Magazine 30 Under 30 in 2005. Her husband, Scott, served in the U.S. Navy for nearly 25 years before retiring in 2019. He's now studying I think he actually is a real estate agent now. We talked about that earlier. They used to move frequently, calling Texas, California, Washington, D.C., and Italy home before moving to Hawaii. Shannon grew up in Texas and graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, where she met Scott. Shannon, Scott, and their daughter Piper are frequent travelers. They enjoyed an RV trip across 6 states during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're going to ask about. So, wow, what an amazing bio, Shannon. Welcome.
Wow, thank you. I didn't expect you to go into all of that. So it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We don't, who will?
Right. I wouldn't have gone there. That's right.
That's right. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for being here. I know you are so busy, especially after hearing all of what you do. We love to know about the journey and how you got to being NAR's 2022 Vice President of Association Affairs, and maybe a little bit of background about what that means as well. So please share with us.
Yeah, no, well, just as you guys heard, for me, I think my leadership journey was probably similar to most. I had no intention to get involved. I was busy selling real estate, had multiple offices in multiple cities, and back in the day, in the early 2000s, the 30 Under 30 award, actually other people nominated you. Now you nominate yourself. But one of my clients saw it come across on the PR wire. She nominated me, and I got a phone call from the National Association of Realtors. I didn't even know I was a member of the NAR at the time, and nor the local or the state. And they kept bothering me, and they asked me to come to Chicago to, be on the cover. And I'm like, who are these weird people? But I think that was kind of my first, foray into organized real estate. And then from there, I was asked at the time, NAR was really facing an identity crisis. I remember at the time is Pat B. Combs and Dick Gaylord asked me to come to their strategic planning meeting in Kohler, Wisconsin. And they wanted to know how to get young people involved in the organization. And it was really enlightening to walk into that room of about 45 people. I would say the average age was 65. It was entirely white. And there were 3 women, including myself, in the room. And it was really eye-opening, and kudos to the 2 of them for reaching out and really asking, hey, identifying we have a problem. How do we, what do we do to change this? And that started the conversation that actually led to YPN, right? A couple of years later, at the time, Dale Stinton gave us the blessing to run with this new program. And I remember our first event in Vegas, and we had 17 people attend.
Oh it happened that we're over 60, right?
Right, exactly. But just fast forward through those years, the relationships I've made and the opportunities at the local and state levels, that's kind of how it all started.
I love how it started. And first of all, that was an opportunity. And that's how, if you look at kind of like a problem as an opportunity, magic happens. That's where WomanUP came from. That's where all of the magic is. So flipping the switch on problems to opportunities. I love that. But can you also tell us a little bit about what the Vice President of Association Affairs for NAR does and what you're most looking forward to?
Absolutely. It's amazing, and it's taken years and years of serving at NAR to really understand and grasp how large our organization is. And I think for me, for those of you who have had the opportunity to serve, for me, the budget review is really where it opened my eyes and doors, because then I really understood all the programs that we have fully. But so we're divided up into 2 sections. And I say divided under President Leslie Ruda Smith. She has 2 VPs, and we have Association Affairs, which is my dear friend and counterpart, Kaki, and she's fabulous. And Association Affairs oversees kind of the governance side. And I equate it to the Washington, D.C. office. The majority of the things that happen in D.C. fall under Kaki. For me, for Association Affairs, mine's more member focused, right? So it's the services we provide to members. So whether it's our member communication, our outreach, our consumer outreach, right? Our partnership with Realtor.com, any commercials we see on TV falls underneath us. And really just the engagement piece with brokers, MLS falls under me. So it's quite broad, and it really is probably your day-to-day as a realtor, your code of ethics, everything that we follow falls underneath my purview.
That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. It's amazing what our organization does, right? Just how broad it is, for sure.
You know, I had never heard the story about how you initially got involved and were brought in to, you know, represent a young person, and which you were, right? That was great. So, you know, one of the things that WomanUP, I think, embraces heartily is failure, that we are not afraid of it, and we just want to learn. You know, let's just learn the lesson, build, and move on. So one of the things we'd like to hear from you is tell us about some of your biggest failures and what it was like, and what you learned, and how it made you stronger and moved on, because I think you've got a couple of good stories there.
Yeah, you know, being licensed for the last 21 years, almost 22, I cannot believe that.
I can't believe it
Half
either,
a
'cause I
lifetime.
think of you as a total youngster,
Right?
you
But
and
really,
Sara. Oh my
half a
God.
lifetime. But yes, no, lots of failures along the way. And I think, you know, I think they say fail forward, right? I mean, that's where we learn. And if you're not failing, you're not improving and growing. I feel fortunate, you know, I always call it my forced opportunity, being married to a military spouse, of having to move so many times. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, reinventing myself, moving into new markets, holding on to old markets. I think the most memorable was when the crash happened in 2008. I had gotten married in 2007. We had relocated to San Diego, and I had opened Schoolhouse Realty at the time, but I was still running Tribella Realty, a multi-office location out of Texas at the same time. And I was really holding on tight to my Texas roots. I was certainly convinced that my husband was only going to serve 2 years. He was going to get out, because when we met, he was getting his MBA. The Navy had sent him to get his MBA. And so he had to pay back. His due time was a 2-year service. And so, you know, I knew, let me tell you guys, I did not like California. I cried every day for 18 months because, you know, it was too cold. But today I would move there in a heartbeat. But that being said, I didn't let go. I was holding on to an old business. I really didn't move into a new business. And when the market shifted and crashed, I also didn't let go fast enough. I didn't lay off people, unfortunately, fast enough. And what savings and what I had accomplished in the 7 years of selling prior, I thankfully never had to file foreclosure. All of our rental properties, while I was begging people to live in it and pay me pennies on the dollar, we never had to sell anything, which was really nice. But in hindsight, I think that really helped us probably overreact for the most recent pandemic, right? Also, from that failure of not letting go really allowed me for all the other moves down the way, because truth be told, my husband ended up serving 15 years after that moment. I really learned how to live in the moment, right? You have to let go of your past to really accept your future. And I think that has allowed me to be the most successful, you know?
Wow, that's really great advice. I got to let that sink in.
Yeah, you have to let go of your past.
Yeah.
You have to let go of your past. That's so beautiful. Well, and I think in in real estate, especially when you go from a independent contributor, like a real estate agent who's running your own business, and then you start opening brokerages and multiple brokerages, like you have to learn the art of letting go of control.
Yes.
And
And delegating, right?
It is actually, it'll probably be one of our big topics in 2022, because
Yes.
as we're all expanding, right
Mhm.
now, this is 5 years into the WomanUP movement. We've got a lot of women who opened their brokerages 5 years ago. And that's right around the time when things start, you're like, okay, am I going to go up and to the right? Am I where I want to stay? And so decisions need to be made on what can be delegated. We cannot do it all ourselves.
Right.
I love that. Like, if you want to move into something different, you have to let go of certain things. Is there anything you would have done differently?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
A lot of things.
like
Everything?
everything. Like, what's the big thing that you were like, man, this? Because you did mention about laying off, and I think that's been a really interesting conversation this year.
Yes, that's a hard conversation. I think for me, I have always had my closest friends work with me, and oftentimes people, and some of them might be on listening. And those are challenging times, like those conversations of, money with friends and family. And, those are hard conversations. I definitely wouldn't change that though. I think, again, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm also very stubborn. I'm very independent. And I think maybe whenever I moved to California, joining a firm versus starting my own firm might have done me better. But at the end of the day, I love every second. I think I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't made all those mistakes along the way, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crazy how that works though. It is crazy how that works. There was something you said that I wanted to follow up on, because I'm sure other people in our community are wondering or curious, because you said you used your experience in the 08-09 crash,
Yes.
and it led into what you did through the pandemic, and you overcorrected. What was that? And what did you learn there? Because I think there might be a powerful lesson for us all.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that I did so from the 2008 crash, my infrastructure, I had bricks and mortar offices. I had, copier leases and telephone service and full staff for every office, and the lights and the building, mortgages, all of that. And it was after that I vowed I would never have a bricks and mortar office. Now, in hindsight, maybe I should, but I don't like being strapped with that overhead. And so
I think that's more and more the norm, right? And we don't should on anyone here, but that's kind of the future. Why do we need so much square footage?
Right. Especially as a small brokerage, my agents, we meet with our clients on the road, right? We meet with them at the Starbucks or wherever. And we also work 100% by referral. So we don't necessarily have that stranger danger scenario that you might have if you're picking up cold leads off the street, right? And so
that's a really good point.
Yes.
Really,
wow.
right? Yeah, they're vetted. Your best friend send them to you. They're vetted. So, and so I think that really was a big lesson, is not having that overhead. And for when the market kind of stopped, I mean, we all remember it overnight. And I remember sitting up in bed, and my husband retired in 2009 from the Navy, and he has a well-deserved pension for sure. But I remember kind of waking him up in the middle of the night saying, I think you're gonna have to go get a job. This could be bad, right? And so it really was, the overcorrection for me was cutting everything back to an extreme. In hindsight, I probably could have done more. Of course, I wish I had bought all the real estate in the world, and we sold our house in Encinitas in 2019. I wish I could change that, right?
In 2009?
2019. So we bought it.
Yeah.
We bought it at the height of the market, right? So we bought before the crash. And then we sold before the run up. I mean, timing is everything.
March and May, the difference in those 2 months of last year were like night and day. Because March, we didn't know what the sky was falling.
Oh
It
my
was.
God.
Yeah.
The market really does turn on a dime, and that's why this, you get into a certain pattern and it feels like it's going to go on forever. And you just have to have one 2007, 2009 experience to know, don't get too complacent, because
Right.
this can change on a dime.
Right. So I think it was just, we kind of suspended our spending, right? We just kind of hunkered down and I think since 2009, we've really lived a more streamlined lifestyle. Prior to that, I definitely spent money very differently. Once the market changed, I drive used cars, guys, secret. My agents will laugh. They're always
my
like,
new used car.
right? I mean, I live in a place that I can ride my bike to every house. So why do I need, a brand new, beautiful mortgage payment on a car?
That's right.
So true.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just really living a lot more simpler and not trying to keep up with the Joneses, I think was really a big transition period from the 2009 market that we kind of carried forward.
Oh, I love that. Well, we were talking about this last week with Sarita about the people over profits, being a big movement, especially with a lot of the feminine energy that women are bringing to the tables. But there's also a big movement inside real estate that's kind of rising up. That's property over Prada, which is what you're talking about, right? Like,
Give it to me.
like invest, right? And I think that for generations, right, we've been kind of told here, look, what makes you successful is that the fact that you're wearing Prada, driving a Mercedes, living in whatever neighborhood. And I think, as with a lot of things, people are just waking up and going, yeah, that actually isn't for me. It is for some people, and that's fine,
right,
but it is not for everyone. That isn't everyone's definition of success.
Right.
And so the people who are property over Prada are kind of finding each other with these hashtags, and the profits, the people over profits are finding their people through the hashtags. So let's talk about one of the conversations of the hour. And that is that you are a part of a history making NAR leadership team.
We are. Woo.
I mean, what? Majority female for the first time ever. I mean, we are in a trade organization that is 2/3 female. And this is the first time ever that the NAR
it's
leadership
majority
team.
Male. I mean, not every year, but most years, right? I mean, we had majority male for year after year after year. So
by majority male, there have been more times than not, all male leadership teams, right? We've never had an all female leadership team, but this year on NAR's leadership team, there are 8 of us. 6 are elected, 2 are appointed, and the 2 appointees are Kaki and myself. We had 5 women leaders this year. By far the most we've ever had, I think, was 3, maybe 2. I should know that. I'll look that up.
So great.
But incredible that we have that. So,
I love it.
but I think the thing I'm most proud of is not just that shift in seeing representation of women, but our leadership team is hands down by far the most diverse leadership team we've also ever had. So if you look closely at all the years past, it's been roughly about the same age, roughly the same makeup, with maybe a couple females, maybe a couple, different colors there, but ours is, we've got the gamut. And
so great.
But what was even better there is that we also have, for the first time ever on our leadership team, besides myself, I'm the only one who's ever served on an extended leadership team before. The rest of us are 100% new. And so it brings with it a really fresh perspective. It brings with it a lot of energy and excitement, and it really is ushering forward some great ideas that we haven't had in a long time. And it's beyond that, like, super exciting working with these people. Our our team is really incredible and we're really bonded. And I think it's because none of us have a political agenda. And I say that probably, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm going to. That was one of the things very early on I learned, is that there's always somebody who's aiming to be president of the United States of America, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
But our group is truly, we're all servant leaders. We're all we's, not I's. And it's just phenomenal. It's so cool.
Well, and I want to highlight something that you said, because it is one of the conversations we have around WomanUP as well. And that is that we don't celebrate the majority being female because we think it should be all women because they're women. We celebrate it because in an organization that has 67% female, that should at least be represented at the top, if not more. And so it isn't women for the sake of women, it's qualified, servant-hearted leaders in that space.
That's
and
right.
It's possible. I think that's what we're seeing. And that's what we're celebrating, is the possibility, right? I mean, I love when RBG would always say, when there's 9, like that's when there will be enough women on the Supreme Court, is when there's 9, like, because there's been 9 men for many, many, many years. And so it really is this a celebration of something different. Right. And
Right,
so
and we know that there's better decision making, there's
Yes.
more thoughtfulness, there's more creativity when you have people that are coming from different viewpoints. When everybody is the same, you get the same. And we got
Yes.
that for years and years and years. So not only the female representation, but the diversity on the team is absolutely stunning and wonderful.
I know, it's so exciting. So tell us, I'm sure there's lots of plans on that vision board, but maybe can you give us a hint of a project or a program you're most excited about working on with this cool new team?
Well, speaking about the diversity, President Charlie Oppler started a diversity, equity, inclusion program that's quite broad. And so we are going to make it part of our presidential challenge every year, that our committee members, everybody takes those classes. So the Fairhaven, all of them, there's 3 of them, and it's about 12 hours of classes. So that's going to be a
Wonderful.
huge challenge, but it's something that, quite frankly, and this is me saying this without any permission, but I'd like to see that become part of our code of ethics, right? That every 1.5 million members takes that every 2 years. And that can be done. And I think it's not a big ask. And who knows, maybe by the end of the year, you ladies might be celebrating with me. Maybe we'll come back. Maybe we can do it.
Shannon, we actually in California, we passed a law that goes in, it's delayed implementation because the courses need to be created, but it was to have more robust fair housing and interactive fair housing and implicit bias training. And that's codified in the law now, which is so important, right? I mean, because that's not the sexy topic that everyone wants to go get it because it gives you leads, but it's the necessary education piece.
Right. I think that is fabulous. And we should continue this conversation offline, because that is something that obviously our board of directors would have to vote on. I say that, I'm making an assumption. If Katie was here, she'd probably say yes, to make that part of our requirements to be a member of NAR. And that's why we're members, is we are elevated and our service is different than an average agent. And why not stand apart on the things that are important? And I think that's where we are. So,
Amen. Yep. Well, and we've had the conversation on the WomanUP stage when we had Valerie Alexander, who's a community fave, but where she had us all close our eyes and she walked through this. Okay, so a couple walks in with their child to an open house and you're having a conversation and one tells you they're a doctor and one tells you that, like, she goes through all these scenarios and then asks you to like actually think about who you pictured when she tells you that the couple was, a gay couple, one was Chinese and one was white and their child was African-American, and you're sitting there your mind is being blown because of course what you're picturing
It's not
is not that,
what
right?
you grew up with. Right.
But yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
your and that unconscious bias that isn't even, it's not malintended, but we have to have those reminders as often as possible, or we fall right back into that flow. And so we're right there with you. However we can support you, however we're legally allowed to support you. I don't know what that looks like inside the association world, but that is a beautiful mission. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we're super excited about it. And I will say that is our training is engaging. It's through interactive modules. And so you get very similar. You're given a scenario and you get to choose what you do next. And you'll be surprised by the time you get to the end of it. It will tell you all of the times you failed along the way. And it's really eye-opening. So hopefully those of you on listening will reach out. I don't know if Sara, somebody has somebody's text message. If we could, I don't have my phone with me, but I'd be happy to put it in the chat. So
yeah, and we actually we built a microsite in California that it's fair housing. I think it's californiafairhousing.org. I'll also put that in the chat, but we link to NAR's wonderful and vast resources. Fairhaven is one, but you have so many others. Yeah. So we'll link to that for sure. And I appreciate all the work that NAR is doing in this arena. It's so needed.
They really have stepped up. And the need for education in this area is so acute, and people just don't know. And I've engaged with just friends of friends, talking about, well, what about the GI Bill? And well, the FHA, like if you were Black, you couldn't participate. And they're like, you're kidding, really? And just to understand the background and put context into what we're trying to do is really important. We're the home ownership group.
Yeah. I see something in the chat that Kitty Wallace is here from my state of Washington. And she said, Washington State has also gotten our Department of Licensing to require a fair housing course in our renewal. So yay, Washington State. So yeah, we need like one of those maps that like goes hot when the state has signed on to do this.
Oh, I like that. Let's do that. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Celebrate it.
Yeah.
I'd love to switch gears a little bit, though, even though this is a topic very, very near and dear to my heart and my team. Farrah Wilder, if you're listening, this is all music to her ears. But I want to do a little bit of a switch in the topic, because a lot of what we do in WomanUP is around brokerage and broker owners and understanding some of the challenges that we face in this industry, face as a broker leader. And you have that experience as well. So we talked about your volunteer side, and I would love to, talk a little bit about your owning a brokerage, your experience there, and what challenges, you think that might be upcoming that people should be aware of, given your perspective?
So this is a super hard question, right? As a broker, we're faced with challenges left and right. Yeah. But we are in a probably very pivotal time right now in our industry, with AI, iBuyers, new brokerage models coming in every day. And I think, the question, we say this in strategic planning, is what keeps you up at night? And I think being able to communicate our value, truly our value, to the brand new member who can then go articulate it to our consumers, is one of our biggest challenges. And I think it's critical that people understand that we are professional problem solvers. I heard that from Lee Brown, and I just love that quote. We are there to help you for the 60-day process to navigate all of the holes and keep you out of a lawsuit, and make sure that, the 150 people in the transaction are doing their job to get you to a successful, peaceful close. And, it's mind-blowing to me that, I understand that the processes change, and they will change with the use of technology and implementation. But with new brokerages where agents have less guidance, I guess, I don't know. I think that's our biggest need right now, is for our agents to really understand our value, not our consumers, our agents, right?
Yeah, and really, but be able to articulate that value to the consumer.
Mhm.
Because what I think the disconnect that we see is that these companies, these disruptors or iBuyers, these companies that are coming in, prop tech, fintech, whatever, they're coming in to chip away at what you do,
Mhm.
to take your part, to take the consumer, right? They want the eyeballs, they want the consumer.
Right.
And what they are in it is they're in it for themselves.
Right.
And the
Exactly.
realtor can share the story that they're here to protect their client.
Right. And it goes back to our previous conversation, right? The iBuyers in general, those brokerages or those models may or may not be held to the same standard that we are, right? I mean, that's why we're realtors, is because we have a code of ethics and different training and a different value proposition. And I think it's really important that more than ever, and I think for 20 years of sitting in strategic planning conversations, making sure the members understand what we do, it's no longer what we do as an association. It's what do we do as realtors, what value proposition we have, and just making sure people get it.
I have something to just ask you a little bit though about the iBuyers, because if you saw the 1,000-watt, 4 or 5 months ago did a survey of people, potentially that are going to sell their homes. And the reality is people love their agent. They really hate the process. And 50% of them said, I would be willing to give up some money in order to make this less painful. So I think we have to be honest about the fact that this is not fun and it is very stressful, and people, not everybody, but there's a certain segment of the market that's going to be attracted to just let me get out easy. And so one of my questions for you is you're knee deep in this transaction that we know is stressful and not perfect. What are some of the things that you could change or would want to change that would make it better for the consumer?
So are you saying like the transactional process? What you would
the
change?
whole soup to nuts,
Ooh,
people,
I like that.
People don't, let's be honest, people don't love going through this. They like it at the end, and they
Leslie definitely didn't.
They love their agent. I think seeing the value in their agent is not really much of a problem. They really, there's a tremendous amount of support, and we have as many people using an agent today as we did 20 years ago. But the actual transaction, even with the digital stuff that we do now, is still painful.
It is painful. But so my husband and I think that's one of the benefits when I say forced opportunity. We've been consumers more times than not, right? So every time we move, we buy a new house, I've always used a realtor. I've never represented myself in a transaction. I see the value on the other side. But the streamlined process is also part of it. I think what is so overwhelming, when we buy in new states, there's always a new contract. There's always a new process. And it's the collection of all the documents and overwhelming, even for me, I practiced in multiple states. Every time I read a new state's contract, I'm like, what does it mean? I still have to call the agent because they're using different terms because of whatever, and so I don't know necessarily how we can make it easier other than just collecting all the, I think about just housing everything in one place. I feel like in the transaction, you've got to call 20 different people and you're getting all these different emails and you're looking for them, I try, in our process, we just have one Google file and everything goes there, and the client only has to go to that one place, right? But just helping with that process. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
$1 million question, $1 billion question, Leslie.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the interesting part about, over the last 20 years attending umpteen Inmans and the RE Tech conferences, they're always trying to solve that problem. And there are dashboards out there. We've had Moxie Works here. They've been a sponsor of us in the past. And, they're trying to create this dashboard where you go and you can get everything. But the consumer, even with all the technology that's happened, it is still all over the place for the consumer. It's wild when you actually think about that. In 20 years, it's still.
And the mortgage process, right? Which is out of our control a little bit, right?
A lot of it.
The settlement services. I mean, that's the part where we don't control, but it is viewed by the consumer that is us.
Yes. Yeah. So true. Oh my goodness. I'm getting goosebumps thinking of all the great ideas that we're going to inspire with these conversations, which leads me to thinking about what's next. So this month, we're talking a lot about defining and refining our visions for 2022. And inside the WomanUP community, our word for 2022 is possibilities. Right. So we're leading into the possibilities of 2022. So what is on your vision board? Like not with NAR, but with Shannon, like what's on your board that you're excited about?
I think, let's put it this way. In no way was COVID ever a wonderful thing for anyone, right? I mean, it really has taken us through the spinner. But I will be honest that 2020 was, on a personal level for my family, a wonderful year. I mean, we spent so much more time than we've ever had the opportunity to spend together, isolated on an island. We weren't allowed to leave because they wouldn't let us come back. And that was pretty magical. All those days playing cards by the pool or swimming or, and I'm happy the market came back, but I feel like all of a sudden we went from, going 60 miles an hour to a, hard stop of 0 miles an hour to 180 miles an hour overnight. And 2021 has been whiplash, just keeping up, just surviving. And I want a more balanced, steady pace, I think, for 2022. I want more of what we had for family time. For me, balance is most important. I've always said, I'm very fortunate because of the real estate investments I made early on, and kind of goes back to the property versus Prada. For me, I never have to work again a day in my life. And there's not many people that are 40 that truly, I do not have to sell you a house ever. My husband and I have a fabulous life as is. And so kind of slowing down a little bit more and enjoying that family time is kind of my goal for the year. I love being back, don't get me wrong, but just I kind of need a little bit slower pace.
Right. How do you hold on to that?
Yeah.
Well,
and I think that we're hearing that. I think we all have that on our hearts, Shannon, right? No matter where we are in our career or our life, that there were aspects, there were lessons learned in 2020,
right?
Where we were all like, wow, I didn't realize I was missing that.
Right.
And a lot of, wow, I had no idea who I was married to. I had no idea who my kids were. Like I met my family in 2020. Right. And so I love that. I think that that's a sentiment that's woven throughout the tapestry of real estate. Right. And I think everyone's kind of trying to balance that. And so the other side of that is hearing no's more often when we ask people to do things.
Yes.
Right. Because we need to allow people to have that space to have the, to say no, right. To say no and to lean into having that. So let's see. Okay. So you've got this, you want to do more balance while you're the NAR vice president.
Right. That
and
makes
traveling
sense, right?
everywhere.
So how are you going to keep yourself accountable to that desire?
I think that's a really fair question. Um, Fortunately, that was part of why my husband retired. So when I was asked to be Leslie's vice president, it was years in the making, right? So we've been leading up to it. It didn't just happen overnight. So that is why my husband retired, and he's room parent now for Piper, and he's home, and he is our newest licensed member. So
Awesome.
he can help around. So that I think really helps as 3/4 of the equation, and they can travel with me when she's not in school. But I do think it's the early morning. I'm a big walker. I love to wake up and walk. And so I always tell people, if you want to meet with me, wake up at 6 and let's go for a walk, right? So keeping that balance and, really focusing on not being out late and getting sleep. But yes, you're right. This year is going to be a fun one, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of planes, trains, and automobiles because I know it's going to fly by fast.
Love it. I love it. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing you out there.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're getting close to that time where we're going to have to say goodbye. And I wanted to just give I always get the wrap up question. Are there any parting words of wisdom that you would like to add to those that you have already shared with us during this hour? Shannon, it's really been a delight to have you on.
Thank you. I mean, I will say this, there was something at some point, and this popped into my head, and I hope all of you guys use it with your clients. But for me, I always say there's 2 mistakes in real estate: the house you don't buy and the one you sell. And I think I mean, we always look back and we're like, oh, we didn't buy that one, right? And oh, I let that one go. So I think if we can live by that, but I will say, and this is because we're leaders, I think our job as leaders, hands down, I may get emotional, but is to find our replacement. And I don't think we as leaders do enough asks. We don't find our replacements often enough. And so I think my challenge to everybody is to go out there and ask somebody to come to our meetings, ask them to get involved, because our future is really dependent on getting new blood, new ideas, more diversity into the fold of what we do on a daily basis. And when we sit back and say, we don't have enough diversity or enough female leaders, we've never had a female, I love the 9, I love that, but we don't have the 8 at the NAR level. And a lot of that is because we haven't made those asks. And so that's also on us as females, as we're not finding our replacements or our diversity. So let's step up to the plate and make that happen.
Love that.
Love
Oh, I
it.
love that. Who will you ask to join you at a meeting in 2022?
That's
you
right.
heard it here. Shannon asked. We're going to check in with all of you because that's such a beautiful reminder, right? We know, and we've had so many stories on the show of, in particular, servant leadership inside the association, whether it's at NAR, CAR, Women's Council, that they were asked to be a greeter at the door and ended up the president of something.
That's right.
You're just waiting to be asked, and we all have the power to ask.
Yeah, we all have the power to ask, and we absolutely do. And we can say, yes, that's a full sentence. And right. No, what's no, Leslie?
Complete.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. We have the nar.realtor/Shannon-King link to throw into the chat so that everyone can get connected with you, follow you, where all the places that you will go, they'll be able to see you. That's so exciting on that website. We also did share a link earlier so that everyone could see the cool, diverse leadership team.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we truly appreciate all of your warmth and your wisdom that you shared with us today. And we do hope to see you at WomanUP events throughout the year. So we'll be sure to send you and the whole team updates of where we'll be, because it's always fun to see each other in person, especially after we've had these great conversations online. So again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts to the tippy tops of our brains. We appreciate you here. For those of you who are here live, thank you so much for engaging in the comments, both on Facebook and on Zoom. We love reading the comments. As always, if you're watching the replay, really drop the comments in, just like we're here with you in person, because we will be back. We will check those and we will get you connected with Shannon or with Leslie or with Sara or myself, and keep that conversation going in perpetuity. We look forward to seeing you here next week, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, for our final meeting, our final gathering of 2021. It is going to be here on Zoom. It is going to be, we're actually not going to put it on the Facebook group, since we want everyone to be on Zoom. We're going to be there. We're going to pass around the mic, just like we did at the Circle Up sessions for the Courageous Reinvention workshops we had in September. So come armed with a celebratory sip. If you want to put on a fabulous, some holiday bling, a hat, a boa, whatever makes you feel festive. Have some fun. Have some fun. You can put on, you could be in a winter wonderland like Sara. And bring your best and brightest lessons and your moments of the year, so that everyone can leave inspired and ride into the sunset of 2021 and the sunrise of 2022 feeling filled up. All right, until next week, everyone, take good care. Again, thanks, Shannon. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. That
It
was
was
such
Have a great
an honor.
weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.